Okay. Off, huh? All right. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our English Cloud Sharing. I'm Chen Li Bao, Chinese name Chen Li Bao, or Dharma name Qi. Together with me is Sister Lim Kuan, and there are a few other volunteers who will share their big views today. And we thank Brother Wong Sen for helping us out today. Time flies, and it is April again. And when we mention April, most Chinese are aware that it is time for them to go Qing Ming again. Today, we are going to talk about Qing Ming Festival. Now, let us invite our first speaker, Sister Kuan, to present Qing Ming to connect to honor.
Thank you, Sister Li Bao. This is Kuan here. Firstly, cannot share screen.
Take your time.
Share.
No.
Okay. Firstly, we would like to express our heartfelt condolences. We would like to express our heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims of the train derailment accident 2 weeks ago in Hualien County, Taiwan. And we also want to send our best wishes to the injured for a speedy recovery. Today, we want to remember our departed loved ones. Remembrance is about respect, about honor. We want to share on the ways people choose to remember the departed ones. And we look at society changes and Qing Ming Festival. And lastly, my family's Qing Ming tradition. Sister Li Bao, when people talk about a deceased person, what do you think normally come to people's mind?
Send to the grave, then to the cemetery.
Okay. We now will share and look at some of the cemeteries in Penang. This is Mount Erskine Cemetery, looking from the top of the hill, and we can see there are many old tombs that appear unattended to for some time. This is the lower section of the hill where new tombs can be seen. This is the Protestant Cemetery. We can see Penang's colonial past. At the bottom right-hand corner is the tomb grave of the founder of Penang, explorer Captain Francis Light. This is the Catholic Cemetery. We can see the neat row of graves. They belong to British soldiers. One of the tomb is that of an 18-year-old soldier. This is the Jewish cemetery right in the center of Georgetown at Jalan Zainal Abidin. And this is the Indian cemetery. Remembering our loved ones can be painful, and different cultures in the world have different ways of remembering. Broadly speaking, there are some distinct and common ways. Let us take a look. First, places. Like Sister Li Bao said, the resting place, the final resting place. We normally will think of the graves or the columbums or the place where ashes are scattered or the house of the deceased or his office or holiday destinations. Objects are mainly personal items used by the deceased person or his favorite items or family heirloom. Activities that we participated with our departed loved ones. For example, vacation or leisure or just simple household chores. As for dates, birthdays, and anniversary, death of death. However, most people will choose the death anniversary date instead of birthday. I guess birthday will be too painful to remember. In fact, many things reminded us of the disease, not only of family members, but people we have known. This is the month of Ramadan. It almost brought me and remind me of a business associate that I used to send reports to him, and he would call me every time after he brought his family to Penang. And suddenly, after about 2 years over, he was not there to reply my email, and a new person took over. After many months, I asked his manager, and his manager told me that he has passed on due to cancer. So very often during Ramadan month, I remember him because I would email him and wish him Selamat berpuasa. Where do the dead live really? My grandfather had 2 wives. My grandfather Akong, and this is his other wife, Apo. When I was young, from the age of 4 to the age of 13, I lived with Akong and Apo. My Akong and Apo, their sacrifice and dedication to the family and their influence on my personality is never forgotten, despite of the fact that they have passed on 4 decades. They live in my heart and will never be forgotten. We now look at the changes that we face. Society changes has resulted in change in attitude, in education, and in the lifestyle and family life, and also affected the way we remember the dead. Dwindling burial land, insufficient cemetery land. In some cities, there are not enough land for the living, let alone for the dead. High cost of cemetery land and high cost of funeral and ceremonies and rituals. People have preferred simpler arrangements, traditional ceremonies and rituals have to make a way for less formal and practical arrangements. Family units are becoming smaller. Children very often are far away from home for work or studies. Parents are becoming old and soon will not be able to visit the graves for the annual remembrance, and children may be too far away even to make the annual trip. We can see preference for cremation and also for scattering of ashes after one is cremated. We see significant and material changes in social media. We see recently Zoom ceremony, Zoom Qing Ming, Zoom wake services, and even have virtual shrine. What do these changes tell us? These changes tell us that change is part of life, and we have to adopt and adapt to the changes. Dear audience, if any changes have affected you, would you like to share on the chat with us? Current pandemic has also affected our life and in the ways we remember the dead. Clear memories will fade over time. Therefore, for all cultures, there are religious festivals, rituals, and ceremonies in remembrance of the dead. These can be important to help us to maintain a continuous connection with our departed loved ones. These rites and ceremonies are dictated generally by customs, traditions, and religion. In the Chinese culture, we have an annual Ancestor Reverence Day in April, known as the Qing Ming Festival and translated to clear and bright. It is also popularly known as Tomb Sweeping Festival. It is very important in the calendar of the Chinese, and this has been observed by the Chinese over 2,500 years and passed down from generation to generation. Qing Ming usually falls on the 5th of April, but in the leap year, it is on the 4th of April. This year, Qing Ming was on the 4th of April. My mother told me that we can only visit the grave for Qing Ming 10 days before the actual day and 10 days after. I do not know how she received that information, but that was told to us. However, because Columbrum is only more recent, so apparently there has been no constraint in the visit to Columbrum. Traditionally, most Chinese cemeteries are located on hill slopes. So therefore, when we go Qing Ming, it's also called Bai San, means pray to mountain, or in Cantonese, Hang San, walk the mountain. Qing Ming is used both as a verb and as a noun. Showing respect, family units and filial piety are part of Asian culture. So on Qing Ming Day, to honor and pay tribute to our ancestor, we went to the grave of the ancestor to upkeep and offer prayer and food. I like to mention here, ancestor veneration is focused on male ancestor because they are part of the lineage of the family, and only male carry the surname of the family. In China, we see virtual tomb sweeping and online shrines, as I mentioned earlier. Next. Sorry. This is very interesting. There are 3 photographs here, 2 showing the cemetery in China, most recent Qing Ming, and the one on the bottom left was the crowd at a railway station. It was estimated that 40 million people took the railway for Qing Ming, and in total, 100 million people travel during Qing Ming Festival. In China and in Taiwan, it was a 3 days public holidays. For my family, Qing Ming is quite an affair. We have to visit 6 locations and another in China. First, Mount Erskine, my grandfather, then Rapid Cemetery, my grandmother. My grandmother is the Ama. Reclining Buddha Temple, my Apo and father, who sadly passed away a year and a half ago, and Three Wisdom Hall, the tablet of Apo, and Hainan Temple, where tablets of my 2 maternal grandparents, my 2 sets of grandparents are placed, and Ipoh Cemetery for my maternal grandparents, and finally, China. Grandfather came to Penang as a teenager. His father brought him here and he was left to earn a living for himself. Look at the middle grave, the white color one. My grandfather, sorry, that's not grandfather's tomb. Grandfather is on the top left hand side. When grandfather died, father bought for him a twin plot of barrel land. My Ama, his wife, died a few years later. And that time, the feng shui man said that the cemetery at Berapit, Bukit Mertajam, has good feng shui. Of course, my father refused. My father said we have already bought twin plot of land and husband and wife cannot be buried separately. The geomancer convinced my father that grandfather can be moved, exhumed and moved there after his 20th death anniversary. Finally, father was convinced and Brapit land was bought. So this issue has been on my father's mind for 20 years. The Qing Ming after the 20th death anniversary of my grandfather, Akong, my father went to his grave and asked him the oracles. My father sincerely stood in front of the grave and said, Akong, we want to move you to Barapit to be buried with Ama. Do you want to go? Then my father threw this pair of wooden oracles. How do you think he expect the answer? First, if these kidney-shaped oracles, one side is flat, one side is round. So if both the flat sides are down, it means no. If both sides, the flat sides are up, it means yes. And if one flat side is down, one flat side is up, it's yes. My father threw 3 times, but he got no and smiles. So he said to us, Akong doesn't want to go to Barapit. So my Akong remained buried in Penang and my Amma in Barapit. Sad as it is, when they were alive, my Akong and Amma were separated by the South China Sea because my Amma in Hainan and my Akong in Penang for 30 years before my Amma finally migrated to Penang in her 50s. And very, very sad, even after death, they cannot be buried together and separated by the Straits of Malacca. This is karmic affinities. This is the reclining Buddha, where my Apo's ashes are placed in the columbrum behind the Buddha statue. And this is the Hainan temple, where the tablets are placed. About 100 years ago, this is a map of Hainan, Southeast Asia, part of Southeast Asia. About 100 years ago, my great-grandfather from Hainan took a boat to Singapore to look for work with his brother, but he didn't stay long, and he went back after a few after a few months. Then he brought my Akong to Penang for work. My parents are from Hainan. About 30 years ago, they went back to look for their roots and found our ancestral home. They repair and rebuilt our ancestral home. Then they went Qing Ming in China. At that time, in the village, only one person knew where my great-grandfather's tomb was. When great-grandfather died, my Akong was in Penang. As my Akong only went back to China 3 times. So when great-grandfather died, Akong loved his father and asked someone to look for a geomancer in Hainan to find a feng shui land for great-grandfather. A feng shui land was found. It was in a forest area, but a white piece of a field, a white and plain field. Akong was buried there, almost 30-40 miles away. I remember my Amma said when she was there and did the Qing Ming, she left our village early in the morning and only came back when the sun set because she had to walk there. So this is how far it is. My parents went for Qing Ming. 1 year when they went, the Qing Ming great-grandfather, 1 year when they went, they saw scribbles on the tomb. It was written in Chinese, this is not your ancestor's tomb. It is my ancestor's tomb. Do not pray here. My parents were very worried because there were no other tombs around there. After another year, the headstone stone or the tombstone was missing. They were worried that maybe the other person has taken or done something or erected somewhere and claimed to be their tomb. But after, I think, 1 year, they found the tombstone was used to lay a road nearby. So they excavated the tombstone and re-erected. So when we went to China for Qing Ming, this is one of the many sites that we visited. This is great-grandfather's tomb. This is how it appeared after 1 year. There are 3 pictures here and taken over 3 years. This is after 1 year, and we can see the overgrowth, the bushes, and the shrubs. This was taken another year. There was a drought. So the dry season dried up all the grass, so it was, and there were very few bushes. Prayer at the grave site and clearing the grave are the man's job. The woman stayed at home to prepare for prayers at home. And look at the picture of the man at the bottom. He was carrying tuft of grass because in every grave, there's a big mound. This is to help enhance the benefit of feng shui of descendant. The higher it is, the better. And the mound need to be kept high. So every year, we will put a tuft of grass on it. That year, I was given the honor to place the tuft on the mound. This is another year, and amazing. Nature did the job. We did not add any soil, and the mound was so high. That's great-grandfather's tomb. Then these are tombs behind our house. There are 3 tombs there. This is before clearing and after clearing. And this is before we paint over the engraved characters of the tomb. My father felt very sad that it was painted this way by the worker. So we bought gold paint from Penang and we paint over it every 3 years. My parents, and this is great-grandmother's tomb at the entrance of the village. In fact, during my great-grandfather's time, people just buried the family members around the house. But my grandfather wanted his father to be special. That's why the feng shui land. This is the altar at our house. The pictures there are that of my akong and ama and the offering. I tried to tell the villagers that we shall not offer meat, but he said, cannot. This is our tradition. If you wonder whether they are joystick or not, the altar is right up to the ceiling. So the joystick is to put on top of the ceiling. Sorry, not on top of the ceiling, near the ceiling. Sorry, I'm confused. I found these 2 photographs and it was painful for me because 7 years ago, that was the last time my parents went Qing Ming. After that, it was not convenient for them to travel, and my father, who squat there, passed away in 1999. Sadly, the caretaker on the left also passed away in the same year. So the photograph taken in 2018, the last time I went Qing Ming, only the caretaker and his wife there. I think now, if I go back next year, I can only see the caretaker's wife. We can see the offering in the house and in the grave site are different. In the house, see the altar, we have meat, here meat. This is very special. We are always reminded, we must go and pay respect to your father's infant sister. It was a sad story. She was left to die apparently because she was born a girl. This is the offering at the gravesite. My father, the best Qing Ming in the village end with a prayer at the village deity. Then the best part of this all is my father firing the firecrackers. That was the best part and he enjoyed most. When we travel from the airport to the village, we passed a shop and he saw firecrackers. He would always tell my mother, stop, 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 buy the firecrackers. And my mother said, don't worry, we definitely will buy. And with that, I conclude my family's Qing Ming tradition and I pass the session back to Sister Lepo.
Okay. And Sister Kuan, you must be very busy. 7 places to go.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I would like to thank brothers and sisters for giving us the encouraging messages in the chat room. Then today, we managed to get a few brothers and sisters to share their views. First, I would like to invite you to listen to Sister Kuan, but let me share first.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Sister Tan Sai Hong or Tzu Qing, she will tell us what she experiences.
Tzu Qing. I joined Tzu Qing in 1999 and I was a house then. Like most people, I observed Qing Ming by offering a lot of food, but such as chicken, duck, pork, and fish. Well, each must be at least 3 types of meat. I burnt a lot of joss paper, incense, and chopsticks, and that would come to around 300 to 400. Many people believe that if they offer a lot of meat, their dead ancestors would not be hungry in the underworld. And if they burn a lot of joss paper, the dead would have a lot of money to spend. In the past, I believed the same too. Later, I realized that my previous belief was wrong and stopped burning joss paper. Actually, after joining Tzu Qing, I diligently listened to Master Chen Yin's Dharma. From Master Chen Yin's teaching, I learned the true principle of life. I realized that blessing is not gained through praise or request from the gods, but through personal effort that is to serve those in need. In Tzu Qing, there are 10 precepts that volunteers observe. The first precept is no killing. It means refrain from killing or not harming others, including animals. So in 2003, I became a vegetarian and completely changed the way I make offering to the ancestors. I stopped offering meat. I would only offer fruit, biscuits, or kueh, which cost me only around 60 ringgit. Although many people were against my idea, I did not waver. At first, my family members disagreed too, and they said that something was wrong with me. It was not easy. It really takes time to influence others. Well, 2 years back, my family member reduced meat offering to minimum. And I'm glad to say that they now offer vegetarian dishes, and at the same time, I became a vegan last year. Another great influence was a video about the origin of Jobs paper invention, date back to the 6th dynasty. The video made me realize that Jobs paper was introduced as a solution to poverty, and it is actually not ghost paper or split paper. So I no longer burn the Jobs paper in incense and chopstick after that. Now I'm going to share with you my own experience on the benefit of offering vegetarian dishes. First, I feel happy and at ease. This is because I no longer go against the no killing precept, and I don't create new negative karma. And I also won't feel disappointed or frustrated. This is because last time the more I offer, the more requests I make. When I didn't get what I had requested, I feel sad or unhappy. Next, it is more hygienic to offer vegetarian food. Meat dishes become bad quickly under hot weather. And it is also healthier to eat vegetable. Once my husband had severe attack of pain because of uric acid. It was very painful. The treatment was by injection into the vein, but still it could not cure. But after being on vegetarian diet for some time, the pain disappeared completely. Besides, vegetarian dishes are easier to prepare. Last time, I had to go to the market at 4 a.m. to get the ingredient as there was a long queue and it sure took longer to cook meat. And I also realized that after becoming a vegetarian, I have a better temper. I would like to conclude my sharing for today with a Jingsi aphorism in English. A confused mind suffers agony, and enlightened mind feels at ease. It means that by having right thought, right action, we follow the right path and are able to be at ease. Cảm ơn. Thank you very much.
All right. Just now, Sister Qing shares. I have to mute, right? Okay. Sister Qing shares this Jingsi aphorism. A confused mind suffers agony. An enlightened mind feels at ease. According to her, this Jingsi aphorism really reflects her. Last time, when she had a confused mind, she offered a lot to her ancestors. And the more she offered, the more she would request. When she didn't get what she wanted, she suffered because of disappointment and frustration. But later, with an enlightened mind, she stopped the habit of requesting for something and from her ancestors, and she feels at ease and happy. 感恩 Sister Qing for the wonderful sharing. Now let us listen to Sister Ming Liang's sharing.
慈济家人，大家好，我名叫陈赛鸾，上人是我法号明良。
A Tzu volunteer. When I was there, I listened to Master's Dharma and only had vegetarian food. The variety of food looked nice and tasted good. Soon, I realized the importance of not eating meat. Back in Malaysia, it was the same. Everyone was talking about vegetarian. At that time, I was not used to vegetarian food. So, I started by eating the
亲
vegetables
戚、家
and the
人
meat
大家
dishes.
好，
After listening to Master's Dharma every morning, or Xun Fa Xiang, I would not eat the vegetables in the meat dishes anymore, and has become a full vegetarian. I also stopped burning Joy's paper after realizing how important it is to take care of our environment. At first, everyone in the family was surprised to see only vegetarian dishes on the table. They looked at the dishes in the weird way, but after some time, they became used to it. I told my family that since I have become a vegetarian, I'm going to cook only vegetarian dishes. Moreover, it is better because no killing will be involved, and it is good for health. Whenever my children complain, I would find ways to cook new vegetarian dishes, which taste similar to the meat dishes that they like. Normally, after eating, they could not believe that the dishes were actually vegetarian. So, as a vegetarian, how could I offer meat during Qing Ming festival? Moreover, nobody in the family is going to eat the meat. Therefore, I told my ancestors that I have become a vegetarian and only would offer vegetarian dishes to them. Well, I am very grateful to Dharma Master Cheng Yen. If it was not for her teaching, I think I would not have the courage to offer vegetarian food to my ancestors and also to giving up eating meat. 感恩。
感恩 Sister Ming Liang. Sorry. So what do I do?
Control.
Okay. All right. Sister Ming Liang is very firm in her decision to offer vegetarian dishes to her ancestors after becoming a vegetarian. She would find ways to cook new vegetarian dishes which taste similar to the meat dishes that her family members like. Look at the picture. Wow. Yummy, right? Okay, 感恩 Sister Ming Liang. Next, let us listen to Sister Li's sharing.
Amitabha. I am Li Xingquan, but generally known as Miss Li. My Dharma name is Ji Jian. Today's topic is Qing Ming, which is one of the two important occasions which our family has to observe. Qing Ming is held not only to commemorate, honor, show our respects, and filial piety to our ancestors, that's great-grandparents, grandparents, and our parents, but also reuniting and connecting with family members from outside Penang and overseas. Why do we need to practice Qing Ming? This is a way of paying our respects and showing our gratitude to our ancestors, grandparents, who may have come from China. They toiled and worked hard for our parents and us so that we can be educated to become what we are today. So Qing Ming is not only the time where we go and pay respects, but also to let the younger generation know where their ancestors are buried, and this needs to be passed down from generation to generation. But sad to say, today, majority doesn't know what is Qing Ming and how is Qing Ming celebrated. Therefore, we have to educate the young people so that they can observe Qing Ming too. Thank you.
use a long view.
Yes.
Okay. According to Sister Lee, Qing Ming is also a time to reunite and connect with family members from Penang and also from overseas. Younger generation needs to know where their ancestors are buried, and observing Qing Ming must be passed down from generation to generation. Thank you, Ms. Lee. Now we go to Asim Jie. Okay. Please.
慈济家人大家好，了我的名是林淑琴，了师父给我的法号就是林慈凤，了甲了人叫我就是阿心姊。
Sister Yamkin, who helped to read whatever Asimchi has to say.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. I'm reading on behalf of Sister Ling Su Ching, her sharing on Qing Ming Festival. My name is Ling Su Ching. My Dharma name is Cifen. Most people called me Asimchi or Sister Sim. Remembering it is Qing Ming time again, because of MCO, last year we couldn't go, and this year we cannot go too. Hopefully next year we can go, because it has already been a long time. Today, I would like to share about Qing Ming Festival. Chichi has been taking care of the poor for many years. Every year, we hold a memorial service for some of our care recipients who had no families. Volunteers would offer flowers, fruits, candles, and water, and clean their niche at the Batu Gantung Columbarium, and then offer prayers. Every Qing Ming, we are eager to go there. During the service, we would call the names of deceased one by one, more than 40 of them in total. I feel happy to be able to provide my service and happy to know them. I believe when we are happy, they feel happy too, because we remember them. Many people will burn joss paper and joss sticks during the Qing Ming festival, but Chichi is different. We chant. We do not burn incense, joss sticks or joss paper, and food, no meat. This doesn't cause air pollution, and no killing is involved, so we do not create more bad karma. Just like Master says, it is sincerity that counts. If we are sincere, I believe they may feel too. Cảm ơn.
So I will do Asimchi tells us what she normally does in the month of April. Many people will burn joss paper and joss sticks during the Qing Ming festival, but Asimchi does something different. She joins the other volunteers to chant for the deceased. Okay, just now I forgot to mention, just now Sister Lok Siu Fen helped to read for Sister Ming Liang. Okay, now we come to our Brother Wei Lun or Brother Beng Hai about the perspective of Buddhism about this Qing Ming. Okay, now let us listen.
A very good afternoon, brother and sister. I talk on Qing Ming Festival of Pure Brightness. Qing Ming Festival falls on either 4th or 5th of April of every year. where the Chinese would traditionally remember their ancestors by visiting and cleaning their grave, including offering to them. Buddhists, rightly speaking, should spend Qing Ming reflecting the kindness of our forefather or ancestor and honoring them by remembering how they may have lived a blameless life or have conducted themselves in a manner worth emulating. One could then try emulating their good deeds, perform charity in the name. Further, we can also emulate the holy ones who have come before us by observing the 8 or 5 precepts. And right thoughts basically refer to the wholesome thoughts, which is closely tied to right understanding because it results eventually through the practice and attainment of wisdom of the Eightfold Path. The 2 verses of the first chapter of the Dhammapada by the Buddha are we is the result of what we have thought. It's founded on our thoughts, it makes out our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. With all the positive merits accrue, one can then make a sincere wish, dedicating merits to them, wishing them well, and having right conditions and learn the Dhamma. We shall go green for the Qing Ming celebration because of the recent extreme hot weather and the COVID-19 pandemic, where we should all go vegetarian and no killings. Not to burn too much joss paper, only offer vegetarian dishes to our ancestors as a mark of respect and save our Mother Earth. In addition, we can and should reflect on how well we depended on our parents and forefathers helping in bringing us into a human rebirth. Good affinity, they, including many efforts, have also in some way helped us in our life and made it possible. We can reflect on how modern life is possible because of the contribution of hundreds of thousands and millions of people out there working, eking out and living. Can earn them. And finally, we should reflect on the Samyutta Nikaya, Mata Sutta Mother, where the Buddha shared his insight on how we have wandered in samsara since the beginner's time, and that it's not easy to find someone whom we have not seen, been related to or before. Everyone is related to us in some way before. In this way, we can reflect on how we are interdependent on each other so loosely and yet so intimately. From there, we can develop deep gratitude towards both people who are close to us and those who wish seems to be completely stranger. Within this deep gratitude, then self-centric tendency may be gradually worn out, and our hearts and mind may open up to others, truly care for them. In this way, we may pay tribute and respect our forefather from his life and the past and repay the deep kindness meaningly, thereby creating a good transparent merits to our departed ones. This is how we can honor the departed ones during Qing Ming, whether as a Buddhist or non-Buddhist. Kan earn. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. A very good afternoon.
Okay, Kan Earn, Brother Wei Lun. Brother Wei Lun talks about what Buddhists supposed to do, but I learned about transferring of merits. Now I would like to invite Sister Kuan to conclude today's sharing.
Thank you, Sister. In fact, some of my conclusions have already been mentioned by Brother Ling Hai. Qing Ming is a spiritual experience. It brings us to remember our ancestors whom we have never met, in my case, my ancestors in China. It is an annual reminder of our roots. If not for my great-grandfather who brought my grandfather here, I believe my family and I would not be what we are today, because I have stayed with my grandparents, and I remember during the hard times, my grandfather had Chinese tea and white bread. My grandmother, all his life, wore the cotton samfu until her death. My grandmother, Apo. So when my parents went to China for Qing Ming, that I did not go until maybe 15 years ago. To me, China was so far away, ancestors I've never met, and they are not important. And as I went, and I have made 4 trips on my own, standing in front of their grave and in the family altar, I realized their hardship. They have never had a good meal in their life. And it is they who have sacrificed that we have what we have today. Qing Ming gives a meaningful spiritual connection with our ancestors. And we pay tribute. When we pay tribute, we become humble. When we give thanks and count our blessing, we become humble. Like brother said, we repay our ancestor by making use of the body. Our body is the legacy from our ancestors. Doing good deeds, building good karmic affinities is our duty. And the only way we can repay our ancestors. Of course, Sister Lee was concerned whether Qing Ming will endure the change. After we look at the China pictures, I believe Qing Ming will endure. We probably will have to adopt and adapt. Like my children, they definitely will not be able to come and Qing Ming at the gravesite. But they can, when they can, pay respect at the crematorium. And as for environmental concern, we all have environmental issue on our mind when we Qing Ming. The less burning of paper, when complete not burning is not possible. It is a tradition observed for a long time. And we have to understand that they have to keep, and because of their belief. With this, I conclude my sharing, and we appreciate deeply that you are with us today. If there are anything from what we have shared that you like to comment and share your own experience and traditions, please put on the chat so that we all learn.
Before our live stream ends, there's one question I would like to ask Sister Kuan.
Yes.
If there are young ones that are on our live stream right now, is there any advice or any word of wisdom, just a sentence you are about to give them for the young ones that are on our live stream right now? Any word at all?
If we talk about genetics, okay, our ancestor, we have our ancestors' genes. Even if no Qing Ming, they are part of us. Giving thanks, as I said before, create a feeling, create compassion until we realize that our ancestors have contributed to our well-being now. We will not be able to appreciate. Excuse me. Let us always pay tribute. And our children should be educated. My grandfather never failed to mention his parents, although he have not seen them for 30, 40 years. He was in Penang and they in China. So parents should mention to the children and let them know our roots. Thank you for your question. I hope I answered your question.
Definitely. So we must go to our
Thank you.
MC.
All right. Before we end the session, we would like to say hello to everyone and goodbye to everyone because we see in the chat. Okay. Cảm ơn everyone for joining us. See you all again 2 weeks from now, right? Okay. Cảm ơn. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.